Hey there, legends. Warne here, coach of the Warne Dawgs, for another Friday. We're here to have a look at the Warne Dawgs and how they're tracking ahead of round 13. So this is our second bye round. We've just had our teams come off the bye, which are Brisbane, Freo, Sydney, and also St Kilda. We saw the Saints and the Swans play last night. Pretty horrible game of footy. I think, I don't know what I'm going to do with these Fridays. I'm just going to talk rubbish, and this is probably longer than what the other ones were. It's sometimes easier to talk than what it is to type at times. As I mentioned last week, I'm a bit time poor on a Friday now, so unfortunately it might not be exactly what you want to hear, see or read or whatever. But last night, I guess the big stories are Rowan Marshall was good with 120. I don't know why Calvin didn't have him as one of his top vice-captain selections, where he went with Errol Goulden. He brought him in because he hasn't had him all year and only got an 83 out of him. So Jack Sinclair would have been a good pick if you grabbed him with a 107. Jack Steele disappointing with an 88, and Warne would have been disappointing with a 97 realistically there as well. Like, it's probably a tick just. But anyway, that's what we've got out of that one. The other real big stories, I guess, is the sense that Angus Sheldrick had 79. So I was a bit scared of going into him, and I didn't in the end because I just thought... I honestly just thought that he might be out next week for Parker, but he may have kept himself in the team. We'll have to have a look. I need to actually listen to the presser from Horse. I was told potentially Horse was a little bit surprised by how well Sheldrick went in that. So he might stay, which then makes him a downgrade option for next week, I reckon. I actually did jump into and grabbed Marcus Windhager, which from what I saw... was all right. He's there. He's midfield times there, all that sort of stuff. So hopefully he's just going to be a nice solid option as we go. 15 touches, was tackling. That's the sort of stuff that we can ask for him. But anyway, that's last night. And the thing is, we are looking at round 13 where we like to trade in players that have had their bye. But looking at this on a Friday, we've already had two of the bloody teams there. So we're now left with Freo and Brisbane players to grab, so it's up to you with what you might like to do with it. But let's get into looking at the Warne Dawgs for this week. So I've already had some players play, so out of that there had, where am I? Rowan Marshall, Windhager and Errol. So those three have already played. Now, currently at the moment, I've just made the one trade, which was Pedler to Windhager. So that's a move that I guess I was probably always looking at doing. That might have been Sheldrick, which actually would have, in the hindsight now, of course, might have been better if it was Sheldrick because it would have freed me up the cash to do some stuff. So let's have a look at what I'm thinking about. I'll just click on the buy detector to begin with, though, and we'll see how I'm shaping up for this week. So now Fleeton won't be playing. Chesser won't be playing. So I'm already 2 down there. But I've got all of these guys except Fiorini, all of these guys all playing. Now, when I say all playing, there are a couple of blokes there that you probably almost prefer not to be having. So Wardlaw, so I'm already down to 20 because I will be moving Fiorini, so I'll talk about that in a bit. But Wardlaw, the 66 hopefully drops out of my 20, and then I might be okay. So okay with the guys that I've got there. Yep, obviously okay there. So Wardlaw's the weaker link there. Warple against Brisbane might be a little bit at the moment, but I'll be moving him next week. And then obviously Ginby floating there as well. Will Day, Andy McGrath. Anyway, we'll see what it ends up looking like. So 20 players at this stage. Hopefully 21. So this is what I'm looking at doing. So Fiorini is going out, and he's going to become, and this is adding another one of those players that I don't necessarily want in my side. Let me just go to that view so you can see what's going on here. So he'll go to Matt Johnson. So that is going there, and you'll notice him coming into that spot there as it is. And then the other trade was going to be, now I've got Harry Sharp who's done. He's down in my utility, and my plan there... all positions, price range, players I can afford. Right, so there's some guys that I can afford that I could get. Now, I don't hate Nick Martin as an option. He's been very good. Look at his last 313. Briggs would be great, but I've got the set and forget ruck, so I'm not going there. Now, notice all these guys have got their buys coming up. So I want a guy coming off their buy. Well, O'Meara is one of those. Can't have him because he's suspended. Luke Jackson, I wouldn't be going there. Obviously, we do have Darcy out this week. We don't know how long. But then it's this guy. And I don't want to do it. And yes, go Warne. You don't have to do it. Okay, so Daniel Rich at 670. So he got the break even of 68, so it's sort of a low risk on that side. 91, obviously was out injured there. 88, 97. There's a part of me that's just going, I want to do this. Now, the reason I would... Hang on, let me just go and whack him in so you can see what's going on here. So Daniel Rich can come in. And what that would do is then put him into my backline, which would get me to 21. Obviously, he's off his bye. He's had his bye, and that would obviously help there as my team sucks for next week, especially with the defenders. So now I'm not going to pull the trigger on these trades because I don't want to risk any form of issues with the rolling back of team or reversing stuff there. So that would put, let's just say it's Fleeton, so he can go in there, and that would give me 21 then. That's the Matt Johnson there for Fiorini. So my thoughts and my ideas around that would then give me 21 for this week. So knocking off 3 players, which is something that obviously is a nice thing to do. It's always good to have more than your 18. But it would set me up a bit better for next week. So my next week trades, I'm heavy, like a lot of people might be, with around 14 players in the back line. So Dacos and Day are very popular. Jimby was going to go if you've got good teams have got Dawson and not Andy McGrath like I do. So that... and Andy McGrath could go, but I would say likely it's a Jinby out, it's a Warple out as well, so they are there. That third player might be a bit of a wait and see, but if I'm getting a Sheldrick in, if it's a Jinby, a Warple, and a McGrath, and with the coin that I'll end up having, I think I end up having about 100k after those trades that I was looking at before. If I have that, then that would let me 100 plus what I get from Jimby down to Sheldrick. Let's call that 250. So 350 or so I'll probably end up having to be able to put on top of a Warple and a McGrath. That's probably getting me premium players. Now, it's about who they could be. Like, it's a bit of a watch on Neil this week. Now, I could be getting Neil this week, and that could be from my Rory Atkins. But the Rory Atkins, I know I don't love him and I don't want him that badly, but I feel like I want to see him out through the buys now, and he could be my worst defender there that could get through, and then he's one of those players that are a buy, even a trade even ahead of round 15, because my 15 is not too bad, because I haven't gone too heavy with those forwards. I've got Taranto, Rosie, Sheasel. Sheasel could still go in round 15, like a lot of people are doing this week. But yeah, that's another thing. Real quick one on that. I'm okay with people trading Sheasel and Zeeble. Zeeble would go ahead of Sheasel for me. I think it's the dollars on his head, but you probably are looking at both out before round 15, so you just might be preempting that now while you can. But it's up to you with how you go for that. My team's that crap that I need to keep Sheasel there. So that's where the Warne Dogs are at the moment. So currently I've got the plan of going, oh, geez, is that even right? I'm not sure if I've even done any VC stuff yet. I need to have a think about what Calvin did. Hang on, let me do that for anyone playing along at home. This is how little I've been able to look at this point, because I don't really need to do anything until tomorrow. So, all right, Calvinator, where is his captains? So looking at the Patreon. So if you're not on there, patreon.com/DT Talk. So he's got Zach at 1, which should be all right, but that Ed Kerno thing is a slight issue. Tim English is Friday night, so maybe I'll go Speakano English tonight. But it is that Port Adelaide matchup. Don't have Dawson. Taranto there at 4. Goulden at 5. Brayshaw at 6. So Goulden obviously done. I'm glad I didn't go there. So I've got Brayshaw that could be that option on Saturday night into Merritt on Sunday. Or do I go with my Taranto on Friday night? I think I'm going Brayshaw over Taranto, even though Calvin's ranked Taranto higher. Tim English. They're just big, some of those scores that he does put up there. So, interesting to see what I might do with that. But I'll keep you informed, actually. I'll put updated in AFL Fantasy. What's my article called? Friday Fantasy Feel Up on dreamteamtalk.com. Go and check that out. Now, while we're here, there are a few things that are coming up. We've got our knockout competition, so that's very exciting. There's a code there on the screen if you're watching this via the YouTube, SEKH WV6P. That gets you our knockout comp. So our mate Jaden, who is an absolute genius. If you don't follow him at Jaden_Poposky, you can check out his content, which is always great. He's always there, very helpful and all that. He created this for our Patreon, so that's been running. I think we're down to our final 16, which will ramp back up after the buys. We had the buys off for this. But this league, the one that you can see right now at the bottom of the screen, join that, and then once you're in, basically, if you make the top 512 coaches from rankings, the points scored over the buy, so that's the round 12 through to 15, what you can do is, you make that 512, you are into the knockout comp, which is first versus 512, winner goes through. Second versus 511th, winner goes through. That all happens each round. So at round 16, we'll be having the 512 competing. That'll be culled down to the 256 for round 17. And then what did I say? 256, 128, and so on, all the way down to, so in round 24, it'll be the last two standing. The winner of that will win the prize, which is $250. But if you're a member of our Patreon, so you sign up at patreon.com/DTTalk, if you've been a member, even just for 1 month, you are in there and you can win $500 if you're the winner and $250 if you're the runner-up. No runner-up prize just for the normal one. It's just $250 for the winner. But if you're a member of our Patreon, a little thing we just wanted to do with that to give people a little bit of a nice thing. So looking back here at my team, let's just go back here. To this, we do have another thing that I wanted to jump in and talk about while people are watching here. We're going to Perth. Tickets are on sale now for our second show. Our first show sold out on the first night, so that was done in a couple of hours there, which is pretty nuts when we think about that. That's happening on Friday, the 14th of July, but we've opened up and thought, let's do another one. Thursday, the 13th of July, so that's happening at the Camfield, which is the big pub next to Optus Stadium. So happening there, pretty much the story will be drinking beer there, watching the game of footy, which is the Swans and the Dawgs, and then we'll launch into our show from 8 o'clock or so. That's about the time that the footy will finish. Should be a lot of fun. If you're going to the other show, I think things might be a little bit different. So you can grab your tickets now on our website, dreamteamtalk.com. I'll put them in the comments here on YouTube as well. And yeah, it's going to be a super time going over to Perth for that in our school holidays. So it's that sort of middle weekend of our school holiday. So we'll get over there for the Thursday night show, the Friday night show, and then fly home on Saturday and see our families again. But we're looking forward to it. So thanks to anyone that's got a ticket. We love the support that we get, especially from all those legends, especially too on Patreon, who are supporting us there. And hopefully you're enjoying the content. We're having a lot of fun doing it. The stuff like the Wednesday night pint cast is a good midweek. Have a crack a beer and talk some rubbish for an hour or so. It's mostly about answering your questions. So you can get those in via our Patreon and we'll do our best to answer those as they come. And yeah, the Sunday night live stream. This week, though, it's going to be on Monday, straight after that Queen's birthday game. Now, speaking of that Queen's birthday, or King's birthday game as it is now, that is Melbourne and Collingwood. We won't know those teams until Sunday night at 6:20. So the big name out of that is probably Harvey Harrison's been a popular trade-in target after making his debut last week. I just don't think he can go there, mainly because we don't know whether he'll be in the side or not. We know that Elliott's back. A couple of those injuries aren't necessarily out, so he could be straight out of the side immediately. But then again, he might still play. But it's too much risk for me to be able to do that, so I would not be doing that. That's my thing. Bit annoying that that's happened. In the past, every Monday game, we've always had the team or the squads announced on Thursday night as normal. Then we'd get them on Saturday afternoon. Now, initially it used to be 4:30. Then it moved this year to 5 o'clock. So it's even weird that this has happened this season when we've had a Monday game earlier and that's gone that way. So anyway, let's go back to the Warne Dawgs here. And I wanted to click back into the Stats Centre and let's have a look at the most traded players. As it stands, it's after lunch here on a Friday. So Marich has been brought in, so 13k coaches. Obviously, he's got the forward status and he's 200k. So that's obviously a nice price to be. There's a downgrade. That's what you're getting. The round 14 bye, which is probably works for a lot of people with those forward lines. He will be there. Don't expect too much from him. If you've got 20 players, if he makes your 18, he's had a day out, I reckon, to be able to do that. So Matt Johnson, he is the downgrade option. I know he's a little bit more at 349k, but he's almost my little must-have of the week. That whatever you do, like if that's trading out one of those mid prices or a rookie that's maxed out in price to him, it's a bit of a no-brainer for me. Lachie Neale is just ahead of Andy Brayshaw, and that might be because of the ownership of Brayshaw already. Brayshaw would be my number one target to be getting in there as a premium. I know we're spending a bit of coin on him at 982, but he's probably top 3 for midfielders and absolute gun. In my hindsight of my team, I wish I actually didn't get him a couple of weeks ago and just held off for him. But Neil's a good option, so at 8.29, it's a good price. Moving through, Sheldrick, the people that jumped on him, 7.2k, he did that, so nice work. Hopefully he stays in the side next week. So Harrison, I would be not going there. Josh Sin could work, but again, he's a round 15 buy player, and 228 is great buying, and he's in there 22, so I could be tempted by that. Keys probably works for some, being the round 14 buy player. He's at a good price. I break even at 25. Not too much can go too wrong, especially if it was a buy round play. Does he stay in the does he stay as a midfielder for the longer term? That's to be seen, but could be there. Caleb Sarong, definitely okay with that. There is that little bit of an ankle niggle. Apparently he's battling there. I think it's ankle or knee. Ankle, I think it was. Briggs, if you have anyone other than the big two rucks, you could go down to Briggsy, as long as that's fitting with your structure, and then use that as a play for a bit, because his break-even's 12. The numbers he's put out have been bloody awesome there. Look at that, 84, 111, 117. So, yeah. He's a good move from anyone other than that. So if you had Witsy, easy. Max Gawn, I'd do it with. Whoever else you might have had there. I'm not sure what other names are floating around there, but that could work for you if you need to do that. Lloyd was picked up by a few last night. That was disappointing. He saved himself a bit big last quarter, I think it was. He kicked a goal there right at the end as well. I could go a Taron Thomas, but again, he's a round 15 player. So I think you can wait on him as well. I know the break-even's low at a 43, but you could wait a little bit as well. So they're the most traded in. You can check these out by hitting up the Fantasy Coach subscription. Most traded out, Atkins, yeah, it's fine to do. Pedler, obviously, is fine to do. So Zeeble is there and Sheasel is there. So they're in the top, 6 players being traded out. I am, as I mentioned before, Zeeble over Sheasel to go. So that's something that might be in some people's heads of what they're doing, but they could both be gone before round 15. Chincotta, you can say goodbye there. His break even, what is it, 55 that was. So, and on his return there, he only busted out a 39. He's up against the mighty Dons this week too. To go, he had to go for coaches, as did Greenwood. If you've got Fiorini, I'm trading Fiorini over Ratkins, so that's my play there, but both could go if you really wanted to. Warpedo, I think that he could go this week, but he's going to go next week for me. Jinby, all that sort of stuff. People are making pretty decent choices all the way through that. I guess the only things that I would say, and it's all evening out a little bit now, just wouldn't be buying into players that are playing next week. Have the buy next week or the week after. That's just my little play of the buys. I think a lot of coaches just need to make sure that they're on top of how their team's going to look at that point. So that's it. I'm just going to go back to my team now, though. I'm going to see, just to let people know my thinking about some of the stuff there as well. So the really simple stuff, those trades, it is going to be Fiorini to Johnson, and then I'll get basically on for Chesser, which will be via the trade out of Sharp. That'll end up being Daniel Rich. Now, really don't love it, but it's a means to an end. I could be getting a midfielder, and I know some people would say, you might as well do that. Trade Ratkins to Neil, and that's still in play. I'm not going to even say I'm definitely not doing that or anything. That's still in play. I could get there and go Ratkins to Neil. He comes on, and then I'm benching either a Johnson or a Wardlaw, or I can play the loop game with those guys. So if you don't understand that, I'd be putting Johnson, because he plays on the Saturday night, I'll put him on the bench. If I like his score, I can then bench Wardlaw for Rao, and then what that would end up doing is as simple as score will replace Rouse, because Rouse is an on-field zero, a non-playing zero, and that as soon as that gets activated, that then is a 22 player, so therefore he'll be in there, and then if his score is good enough to be in the best 18, it will make that. So I guess the only thing is, this is me just wanting bums on seats as well, so getting Daniel Rich as a bum on the seat, who has risk attached, massive risk attached. But I feel like if I can get through 3 weeks with him, then that would be a win, because he could be one of those upgraded players later on, and that might be by choice because he does get injured. So we'll see what that one looks like, where that is. So, yeah, what to say? I might go Tim English tonight then as my VC. I guess it's either him or I'm looking at Brayshaw. I think I'm going Brayshaw there over Timmy T, but there's a lot of good options. A lot of good options. If you do look at Calvin's top 10 list on Patreon, you will see that there are a lot of players that you probably have in your side. So fingers crossed, this round could be a high-scoring round. And that's another reason of just getting the bums on the seats for me, is wanting that. I'll get more points out of doing Lockie Neal, but then I've got... But if I go with... who am I talking about? Daniel Rich, I think Ratkins being in next week will help a fair bit, especially when I do look at that buy detector and look at that round 14. I'll definitely be holding Dacos, so he'll be there. Do I want Mullen? No, I don't, but Jinby will go. I may get rid of a McGrath, but I think it's Jinby, and Warple will definitely go next week, and then maybe McGrath. But if Day sucks again, Day could go as well. We'll see how it looks, but McGrath goes before Day in reality. So anyway, that's the Warne Dogs. That is my team. So don't forget to keep checking out everything on dreamteamtalk.com and all of our other stuff that we do for the AFL and everywhere else, all on social media. Thanks for jumping on these YouTube videos. I do just dribble a fair bit of shit on here, so I hope it's not that bad for people to tune in and listen to. Thanks for doing that. Click like, subscribe, and all that. We need to be better YouTubers. We were like OG YouTubers because we started this in 2007. So we probably just haven't evolved how we could have done with that, using that, because we fly by the seat of our pants. We don't know what we're doing. We make up a lot of stuff with what we do. I'm the nerd out of the guys, because you could realise Cow and Roy have got no idea what they're doing when it comes to technology and running this business. But because we are teachers in our day job, one day it'd be nice if we weren't. One day it would be very cool if we are just actually fantasy footy coaches doing stuff. But one day we can make it happen and learn how to produce better content and create some stuff. But we do have fun doing it. We do appreciate everyone jumping on board. So don't forget, we have those couple of things coming up. We've got the Perth trip. Thursday night is going to be huge. I'll let you in on a little secret. If you're down there early at 4 o'clock, you can watch our live stream that we'll be doing on afl.com.au. We're doing that from the pub as well. So you can be in the live studio audience, live bloody broadcast audience or whatever. Outside or at the pub, you can check that out, which will be pretty fun. And then don't forget also, we've got the knockout comp, so that will start in round 16, but you need to be in it before the end of, actually, you need to be in it before round 15, so the data can be sucked out. So just jump in it now. There's the code. You can get involved and be part of it. And hopefully you make that top 512 coaches. If you're going all right that first week, then might be a chance to get in there. Calvin reckons he's going to get in there, so if he gets in there, I will get in there, because there's no way I'm not outscoring him for the next 3 weeks, although his trades haven't been too bad. So jump on board, all of that stuff. Thanks so much for tuning in. I've even got a whiteboard marker here in my pocket after teaching this morning. I teach on a Friday morning. It used to be a day where I had to do other stuff, but now I've got to teach. Anyway, that's a good thing. The kids learned all about ratios today, and it goes over their heads. They lose it when I start talking about a kick to handball ratio. They don't love their footy like they should. They need to get into fantasy footy. I do have my fantasy footy club meetings on Thursdays at lunchtimes, and had no show yesterday. I was waiting up there for them. No one came, but normally there's a great crew of kids that want to get in there and do all right, and too many of them are doing better than me this year, which I'm going to put down to some good tutoring in the first few weeks of the season, or at the start of the season. We had a couple of big ones. Right, copy this team, and I probably gave them a good team. And then I munted my team and it turned into rubbish. Anyway, thanks, guys. Shit, this is near 25 minutes worth. Well done if you made it this far. We'll we'll see you in Perth if you're going there, and keep tuning into all our stuff. We'll see you on Monday night for our live stream after the Melbourne and Collingwood game. If you are part of our Patreon, $5 a month, jump on, be in that, and then that allows you to get the $500 or the $250 runner-up for the for the knockout comp. Get amongst it. All right, I'm going to hit the stop recording button and upload this to YouTube now. See ya.